Welcome to this short talk, Ned Sahin. You are a wonderful expert in wearables and augmented reality. The first question would be you are dealing now with some of the tools that help people with autistic spectrum to have a better life. Why did you choose this topic?
Well, thanks. And thanks for having me here. You know, I'm a brain scientist. I'm also a humanist. I care about making people's lives just that much better. I don't have a particular reason, for instance, having a child with autism. So I don't have that as a reason for why to choose autism and ADHD. I think I see the hope, the amazing hope that the right technology, the right neuroscience, and the right humanistic approach can have for this set of potentially 70 million people. If you wouldn't mind, I'll go into why uniquely,
Sure,
because
absolutely.
I think that people with autism quite uniquely can benefit from this kind of enabling augmented reality technology because so many times they have much, much more capability that's kind of locked in
Hmm.
than we would assume just by interacting with them because of the interaction. And if they can use a device and a system to train that social interaction piece, then they can become more comfortable and more integrated, and other people can understand more about their inbuilt talents.
You said something very, very interesting. You said we can look at something through the eyes of somebody else. So
Yeah.
look it through your eyes. Fantastic songs about this. How do you do that? And how does it help me to understand the world of people within the autism spectrum?
Let's say I'm someone with autism and I struggle to even find someone else's face and to know how to pay attention to it. It might even scare me. That's hard for you to understand,
Mm.
probably. But what if you put on glasses and suddenly faces got blurry and seemed to wiggle and maybe seemed kind of menacing? You, for the first time, might understand just by looking around the world, this is a differently constructed world and one that makes a very basic gateway talent, like looking towards someone when you're talking, into something that's difficult and really challenging. So that's just one example. And
Hmm.
now what might you benefit from that? If you're a teacher and you have a student in the back who seems to be not really paying attention, maybe you'll understand that student better. Now, if you're a mom and your own child seems never to really truly care that you're there, and you won't admit it, but there's something deep inside you that just feels like my love can never be reciprocated. Imagine if you fully understood and could feel
Mm.
that actually you might be paying attention or showing love, but you don't give that visible sign of it.
Yeah.
So now you, as the parent, can really have that differing level of empathy.
Yeah.
And then let's take it to another level that's just looking towards someone. What about, for instance, not understanding their emotional expressions or having a emotional tumult inside the person, like a whole wild and crazy and very difficult time because sounds are too loud and lights are too bright and
Mm.
your stomach is acting up. Imagine how difficult life is in that moment.
Yes.
But you don't have to imagine it if you could feel it.
Absolutely. So you help them in a way to identify emotional status of other people
Yeah.
so that they can react to something that otherwise they wouldn't see.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And yes.
And what in the future, when we look at the variables that you are developing, what do you see as, say, in the next 10 years? Because everything is developing very fast. What will we be seeing in the development of this technology?
I think technology develops fast. Society and culture and behavior sometimes develops a little more slowly.
Hmm.
And we can have the newest technologies and they don't get adopted.
Hmm.
Or we have some things that are not actually very good technology, but everyone uses because it serves such an important human need. So, one of the reasons it's difficult to make a prediction of 10 years and especially of 25 years
Yes.
is we have to think of the interacting social constructs that may or may not change at that time. Will people get comfortable seeing devices on each other's heads?
Yes.
Will people get comfortable with cameras in the environment? And that could slow things down.
Yes.
I think now we're getting more used to cameras being around us. I think now we're getting more used to the idea that someone might need a different apparatus on him or her because of a different talent set or sensory perception. I mean, I'll point out the simple and old one, but you have glasses on
Yes,
to allow you to see the world in a way that's different than you would naturally see.
exactly.
And some people need something like glasses that will reinterpret the signals coming into the brain in order to integrate naturally with their social constructs.
Mm-hmm.
When we can make those tools so seamless that you don't even see them,
Mm-hmm.
now that person can remove one more barrier to comfortable social integration.
What we understand is technology is developing very fast.
Mm.
Society is developing very slow, and there are always drawbacks, as we see now in the United States with the new government, where you see that they're not interested in something like that. They are not interested in minorities, but in majorities.
Mm.
How can we synchronize the development of technology with the development of society?
I think the way to synchronize technological development and societal development is by showing clear and present value to people in a very, very simple way. When you know that something is going to give you value, you will use it, and you might even use it at risk of your own personal data privacy.
Mm-hmm.
We see people talking about how terrible a social network might be, but they're on that same social network talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they suddenly have community of thousands of people across the world that they never otherwise could complain to or
Right.
be part of.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're seeing both the value of it and the potential danger at the same time. The only reason they're there, though, is because it serves a human need. It's not a technological need. Computers can network with each other anytime,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a human need of finding community, finding acceptance, having your voice listened to, and reaching out to people who are geographically, mentally, or temporally separated from you otherwise.
It's an interesting thing because we are here at Google's
Yeah.
in Switzerland, Zurich, 4,000 people working here. Now you're working also with Google Glasses. Are there future projects that you know about or you think about that could connect with Google?
Absolutely. So my company is a licensed reseller of Google's hardware technologies, and we've also benefited from many of their software innovations. I am under a non-disclosure agreement, so
Sure.
there are things that I can't talk about, but about which I'm very excited that are coming from Google. I think Google is an amazing company because they really do stick to their maxim around don't be evil. They really care about humanitarian crises. They put up an informational net at any human crisis around the world. They do projects like bringing Wi-Fi internet access to sub-Saharan Africa that probably don't make them much money and are extremely difficult, but are humanitarian and really broad thinking. So I think Google is an amazing company. Google also has its touch into every part of the life of literally billions of people. And some people are nervous about that. So we need to see the good and worry about ways that things could go awry. I think it's very important, though, to know that we're on a train towards progress.
Mm-hmm.
And if you worry too much, you might jump off that train, and then that's bad for everyone.
Let me ask you a last question. You showed us some videos where children in the autistic spectrum were experiencing your technology. And there were some fascinating, very emotional. What was the most emotional moment for you where you saw that the technology that you are developing really helped a kid or a mom or both in this respect?
I'll give you a couple examples if that's okay.
Yeah,
So
sure.
my work is to translate brain science into closer connection between people. And as you mentioned, there are times when a child can connect with his or her own mom or peers in ways that have never been possible. And there was this one moment during a clinical trial session, and we had camera crews in from a TV station. when the mom started crying. I was right there in the room, just off camera, and she was crying, and she articulated it to her own son, which he couldn't necessarily understand. She said, "The way you're looking at me right now makes me realize you've never really looked at me before." And that moment, she started crying and was having this realization. And there's something about that newfound human connection that was absolutely amazing. But there are also other moments. And one that comes to mind was when the principal of a school wrote to me and said, "You know, that very, very shy student that has been working with your software? Well, he came to the dance. He would never have come to a dance
Yeah.
before. And he had prepared a dance routine.
Mhm.
And he did his dance routine.
Fantastic.
And the students applauded him and cheered him. And then at that moment, he got shy and scuttled
Run
away. But he was there.
Fantastic.
And sometimes I think of our apps as giving instructions for doing what you and I might think of as natural. They're kind of like dance steps.
Mm.
You count 1 and 2 and 3 and you move your hips, and it might feel a little artificial.
Yeah.
But in fact, you're out on the dance floor of life. You're interacting with someone else, and soon it will become more natural.
Fantastic. Dance floor of life. Fantastic word. Ned, thank you so much for contribution.
Thank you.
For this talk and for being here in Zurich. Thank you so much.
Vielen Dank. Thank you.